war in Gaza enters its 6th month. It started with Hamas's horrific terror attack on Israel on the 7th of October. And today the war has spread through the region. India has been impacted as well. There are reports that submarine cables which pass through the Red Sea have been damaged. Joining me to discuss the impact of the Gaza war on India are Itai Melchior, live from Israel, Major General Sudhakar Jee, and my colleague Deepak Bhadana. Mr. Melchior, welcome to the News9 Plus show. I want to start by asking you, what do the disruptions in the Red Sea route mean to global internet traffic? The Houthis say they have nothing to do with it. What's your take on this?
First, I want to express my sincere condolences to the Indian people for the Indian national that was killed yesterday in the northern border by Hezbollah, who fired a rocket at a group of workers, indiscriminately civilians clearly, and Patni bin Maxwell from Kerala, who passed away.
Yes.
Now, to your question, of course the Houthis are saying they did nothing, and I don't think anybody in the world believes that. The Houthis have consistently been applying economic terrorism. First, they started targeting ships. They claimed it was to do with Israel, but they've been targeting ships from nationalities not related to Israel en route to India from Turkey. Things really not related to Israel, just a form of terrorism.
Right.
One of their goals was to disrupt world trade. The second was to raise the prices of oil, in which they did not succeed. And now they've turned to sabotaging marine cables and communication. And it's important to understand that communication is the lifeline of the economy, because today that's how the money moves, that's how the emails move, that's how communication moves. So it's a grave attack. And I think the world is realizing this, that this is a group that needs to be dealt with.
Right, absolutely. A group that needs to be dealt with. General Sudhakar Jee, the Houthis are waging economic warfare very clearly for the last 5 or 6 months. They started by attacking the energy lifelines, trade, and as we say that data is the new oil. So now they've kind of, from oil they've moved to attacking data, which they've apparently sabotaged some of the cables. What do you think the world needs to do now, given the fact that, a disruption of the internet cables could wreak havoc for our parts of the world?
Yeah, thank you for getting me to your show, Sandeep. This is devastating, I would say. The global dynamics and the geopolitical tension world over post-pandemic has witnessed conflict in the Central Europe. Thereafter, it is spread towards the West Asia, and now it's gravitating gradually towards the Indo-Pacific.
Yes.
And as regards your question, I am afraid today, like you rightfully said, that internet is the new oil of not only economy, the lifeline. It is the lifeline of mankind today.
Right.
So I'm told with very limited time to actually browse and prepare oneself, but all that I remember is that 3 different lines have been cut.
Yes.
One is Asia, Africa, Europe. The other one is from India, Asia, Middle East and Europe. The third one is some special cable line. All 3 lines have been cut. It is going to impact, as per my opinion, the following things. First and foremost thing is the economy is going to get destabilized further.
Right.
And the passage of data from one continent to another continent will have a telling impact. And more than anything else, like we have been subjected to cyber attack in the recent past.
Yes.
This is going to be the attack on the lifeline people who are in the ICU or on ventilators. Like we had a disaster in the AIMS and the data was stolen.
Yes,
now, that
absolutely.
The saving grace of the data only was stolen. Here the life is going to be stolen forever.
Absolutely, your lifeline is going to be cut. And Deepak, you had that explainer, you've done that explainer on those 4 major intelligence failures over the last 3 or 4 years. How is it that everyone missed the Houthis completely, despite the fact that they were known to have all these asymmetric capabilities of ballistic missiles and all?
I think what has happened is that the world just glossed over the growing capacities of the Houthis.
Yes.
if, for instance, a year back you would have talked to somebody about the Houthis, they would have told you about a ragtag bunch of rebels in the south of Yemen who are fighting a religious war.
Yeah.
And despite the efforts of a Saudi-led coalition, these people were not they refused to back down.
Right.
And amidst every single day there has been something or the other.
Right.
I think it's just the world missed what was happening in Yemen.
The world clearly missed the Houthis and their ability to cause this kind of disruption. And Mr. Melchior, the fact that the Houthis are aligned to Iran, in fact, they're Iranian proxies, we all know that. How much of a serious miss was this as someone who studies the intelligence community? Why is it that people completely miss the fact that the Houthis were sitting as in a crucial place in the Red Sea, the choke points there for not only energy, but as we now know, the submarine cables carrying internet?
That's a very good question, Sandeep. And sadly, I think the world doesn't want to be disturbed.
Right.
We just came out of COVID. Things started to become normal again. And the Houthis were not the world's problem. They were a thorn in the side of Saudi Arabia and the UAE, and firing at some oil equipment, etc. And the world is very happy not to deal with the problem if it doesn't have to. There was a problem of piracy and not far away, a bit further down south, and the world put together a mission and fought that. And that was easy because it was pirates, it was crime. As you mentioned, the Houthis are a proxy of Iran.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the only way to really get them to stop is either by forcefully, more or less conquering their part of Yemen, which I don't believe the world has the willingness to.
Right.
Of course, it has the ability if it would choose to. And the second one is to apply pressure on Iran, but also that is now not the accepted norm. So therefore, it is a problem that I do not see exactly how it's going to be resolved.
It's a problem, it's a Gordian knot in short. But Mr. Melchior, quickly, because we are in the middle of a possible ceasefire that we've been talking about possibly before Ramzan, and there are very many hostages that Hamas continues to hold, and we've read this very terrible report that the United Nations brought out just yesterday on the kind of sexual torture that was inflicted on the Israeli captives. How much of a possibility is there of a ceasefire now, given the fact that there are 120 or so hostages still being held by Hamas?
Well, Hamas is another proxy of Iran, and also somewhat with a guardian angel called Qatar, where their management leaders sit. Even though I'm optimistic in nature, I'm not an optimistic. I don't see the Ramadan period as something that will resolve the issue, since for Hamas, the conflict is the goal. They do not seek peace and people having their iftar meals peacefully, and rather would like to see the whole conflict continuing and escalating because it serves their purposes. So I'm afraid that even though the US has said we want a ceasefire immediately, release the hostages now, Israel has been willing also to stop fire for 6 weeks, as has been reported. And therefore, sadly, I'm not optimistic. I would love to be back on your show again and you prove me wrong, but no.
Streaming on News9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.